Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Top Bin 90 podcast. I think we're at like episode 19 or 20. So
We'll go with
something
20.
like that.
21.
We'll go with, we'll
21.
go with 20. I like that number. Today, it's going to be a very special podcast. We're going to go over a lot of, we surveyed a whole bunch of Charlotte FC fans. So we're going to go over a lot of that today. Your player of the seasons, your worst moments, all of that. And for that, we've got three of the best people here that I could think of. To my left, I have Mr. Caleb Adams. How are you, Caleb?
I'm doing good. Happy to be here.
Nice, nice. And then next to him, we have Mr. Lee from CLTFC Fan TV. How are you today?
Good, man. You?
Good, good. And then to my right, I have Mr. Bam Brian Maurer. How are you today?
Doing well. Motivated, man.
Nice.
Yeah, big
Motivated.
season going.
Motivated.
Are you motivated for that or like for Thanksgiving?
All of it. Yeah, all of that too. Yeah.
Thanksgiving week. Lee, what's going on with Microsoft?
What do you mean, man? I unplugged something.
Aaron said Caleb leaving CLTFC is the worst moment of the season. Dang. We should have surveyed that as well. Nice. Awesome. Well, let's get started. One of the things, the very first question that we put up in this survey was player of the season. So here were a couple of the nominations that we had, right? We had Christian Kalina, we had Patrick Ajiman, we had Nathan Byrne, and then someone put Jay, which I'm assuming that's just, I have no idea what that
Jalen.
is. So the top three we had were Kalina, Westwood, and Patrick Ajiman. And Christian Kalina absolutely dominated that with 91%. I mean, is there another player? Can you make an argument for anybody else?
Capetti?
I think Byrne has a really strong case.
I think so too.
I think that I don't really think any midfielder or attacker was deserving of a player of the year. It had to be a defender and it had to be Kalina.
Yeah.
If it's not Kalina, it had to be Byrne. Byrne was excellent this season. Was contributing on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Byrne had arguably the best season of any right back in the league.
I think Westwood, there was a moment when Westwood could have during that Cincinnati Columbus stretch on the road when he just absolutely tore it up. I thought at that point it was like, okay, this team can go as far as Westwood takes them, but it didn't. I mean, he kind of fell off a little bit especially on the attacking side of things. And at that point, I think that was where like Kalina really took over that spot.
Well, I mean, isn't that when the League's Cup kicked in too?
Yep. Yeah. The League Cup
Momentum,
ended
man.
it.
Momentum.
Yep.
Lee?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you make good cases, but if somebody else other than Kalina was voted in, we would all be like, nah, you got to give it to Kalina.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So I think
100%.
from that standpoint, like this season specifically, it was overwhelmingly him. And then even in our best out of three series, like against Orlando, he kept us in that first game. Second game, he was kind of the man of the match.
That penalty too, didn't he?
Right? So took us to the third match. Unfortunately, it's kind of annoying too seeing that Orlando's in the conference final. But anyway, that's what
It does sting a bit.
Yeah,
though.
it does sting a bit. So I'm like, dang, it was.
Man, we could have gone far, man.
That's not what this show's about. That's not what this
It's not
show's
about Charlotte. It's not about
We're
Charlotte
still in
FC.
morning. We're still in
Yeah,
morning.
we are. Is there anything specific that you maybe your favorite moment from Kalina this season?
There were so many, man. I mean,
There really were a
he
lot.
just showed up he just came clutch when it mattered, man. I don't know. Which one do you
his
pick?
saves throughout the season were celebrated like goals at times.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
For me, it's the penalty shootout.
it has to
it's
be,
gotta
right?
be. I was there in person. That whole place was screaming,
Yeah.
Kalina. I mean, it was
There's
amazing.
only one.
Yeah.
Kalina.
Really, after the League's Cup, like while everybody else kind of took a dip, it's really when he showed out. And he made so
That's a
many
good point,
great saves throughout that like second portion, final third of the season. It was just incredible highlight reel for him.
For sure.
Nice, awesome. So I mean, like this one's really not that debatable.
It's not.
So
Nope.
Kalina. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the defender of the season, right? So we had a couple of people up. Obviously, Adilson Malanda. We had Nathan Byrne. You had Andrew Privet. And then in there, you could throw Tim Ream, but
No. Nope.
right. And what we found out is that 48.6% of the votes went to that man, Adilson Malanda.
Really?
Yeah, so
Interesting.
people voted him
Yeah.
as
Well,
their best
Byrne
defender
wasn't
of the
on that
season.
list though, was he?
He was on that.
Was he on the
that.
list?
Yeah.
that's crazy.
I'll give you the exact stats for him.
I actually think that I think Privet and Byrne
Yeah,
both have
100%.
stronger cases than Malanda. Malanda had a really good, I think, first half of the season. I think, or at least
Yeah.
first 2/3.
So Andrew Privet got 22.4% of the votes. Nathan Byrne got 24.3. 48.6 was
Fan favorite.
Adilson Malanda. So
Yeah.
I mean, like that's double both of those.
I don't know. I think Privet deserves over Malanda.
And I think just like Milanda gets a lot of the national media recognition. Like if there's a defender that
That's true.
Charlotte FC is being talked about when it comes to like the main MLS pundits, I think Milanda is probably just taking the cake right now. And so I would imagine that plays a role into how the fans then vote, things like that. I don't think Milanda, especially down the stretch, when you're looking at like the playoff series, Milanda had a pretty poor series of poor performances. He was involved in both goals allowed in the opener against Orlando, and I feel
but
like
even when Ream came in and we dropped Privet, right? We
Yeah.
started leaking goals and we were like struggling
Exactly.
to get the results. And then
Yeah.
when he pushed out Ream to the left
Yep.
and Privet came back in, we started getting those Kalina sheets again.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
So-
I agree. I mean, Malanda, I think single-handedly really, really cost us in the Orlando game.
Mhm.
And he also has some, just that final third of the season, he
Yeah.
kind of dipped a bit.
So give me your cases for
Privet. Yeah, like I said, right? I mean, I think he was solid, right? We sort of slotted him in, right, as not as a makeshift, but like it was like the best one we had between him and Bill, right, and whoever else. And then, like I said, we saw what he was bringing to the team when they dropped him and put Ream in.
Yeah, I think
right?
that was very telling, right?
Yeah.
When
And then Dino was like, "Screw this, we need him back in." I mean, and then pushed Tim out to the left.
which first half of the season, you could have also made an argument for your Ronan.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was pretty
Yeah,
solid.
he was pretty good.
He
Right,
was,
but
no,
then,
he was really
you
top.
know-
He sort of fell off there or started
Yeah.
dipping at least. I won't say
Reem,
fall
when
off.
they brought in Reem, he got pulled out. He did kind of struggle a little bit, but I do think Ronan was like I think that at a time Byrne and Ronan were the best fullback duo in the league.
Mm.
Yeah.
At their best. Took a little bit of a dip. Ronan's still one of the top assist men on the team. I think he finished top 5 for most assists on the team. Really took his game up. He was excellent, and so he
So
definitely
he's in
deserves
the
some
top
love.
50% on the team, is what you're saying?
Huh?
He was in the top 50%.
Yeah, probably.
Doesn't sound as good, right?
How about Nathan Byrne? Talk to me a little bit more about him.
Bro, I mean,
It was just solid. People
locked
gave
down.
him so much hell last year, man. But I feel like he was always in those positions because he was fast enough to get back, get across, whatever it took. And I just think,
also, we were playing a lot of hero ball on defense last year.
there's
Yeah.
Like our defenders, all of them, it's no coincidence that every single one of our defenders took a dip from the first season. Byrne, Malanda, it kind of felt like they took some serious dips last season. Tuiloma being a
Own goal.
consistent starter for a Portland side, a good center back in this league, took a massive dip.
Yeah.
Obviously, that coaching was a big factor, but
I also think if Toloma were to come back, it would have to have been this season. Because he
for
would have
sure.
had the opportunity. He probably had under
yeah.
Dean Smith, and Dean maybe saw more in Privet than he did in Toloma.
Now, they still got him on the roster, though, right?
Yeah.
yeah. But no, I mean, it's pretty locked. I think Malanda, Privet, they're locked in. I mean, Byrne, that's we can talk about later. Jalen's contract didn't get picked up.
We'll get into
reason.
that for a bit. Yep. So Dave said Byrne was a thief this year. Byrne, the first third of the season, he was weak in transition, but by the end, he was much better.
Well, I think also what, especially in the final third of the season, Burns showed was just his ability not only to make the defensive runs, but he had a lot more freedom going forward with Ream playing on the left side. So we just got to see, I feel like, a little bit more complete Nathan Byrne, especially down the stretch. And I think that really changed the dynamic of the team in a big way. So I think that's another huge prop for what Nathan Byrne was able to accomplish.
Legacy Kiddo says Byrne was really good in my opinion. Yeah, a lot of people praising Byrne, that's good. He didn't get talked.
He was getting cooked last year, but
he was getting burned.
I think
I'm here all night, folks.
I think after that Leagues Cup is when you really started kind of seeing his progression. There was a run he made, I think it was against Necaxa, where he saved us last minute, or Dallas. It might have been Dallas.
He did that a lot.
Yeah,
and
this season in Orlando as well. But so I mean, I guess you guys are. I still think Melanda was great, but
I'm
you
not
can
saying
make
Melanda
a case
was
for all of
bad,
them.
but I'm just
Yeah,
saying
you
I
can
don't
make
know
a
if he
case.
was.
Yeah,
that
I think Privet getting taken out and putting back in lets you know his importance.
When you're the second best defense in the entire league, you're going to be spoiled for choices.
Yeah,
defenders. I mean, that's the reality. Everyone had to put in some great shifts throughout the season, and they did.
Nice, awesome. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the best moment of the season. All right, so we have nominations where the PK playoff wins versus Orlando. We were all there, clinching a home playoff game, right? I think that's when we beat Chicago. And that was I think we won 4-1 or 4-0 that game, right? 3 points in the home opener. Remember, we had never done that. Each home opener was a 1-0, right?
First time they scored in a home opener.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yep.
And they came out of Melanda.
Yeah.
The defender of the season. Someone put traveling away. I think Atlanta United, right? Like that.
Atlanta's fun. Austin was a good time.
That was spectacular. Austin. You went to Cincy, right?
Cincinnati was a great game. That was a really awesome game to see.
Nice.
Did you go down to Miami?
The last game. No, I didn't this year.
Did you travel away at all this year?
Yeah, we went to Austin, went to Orlando.
You were at Austin?
Yeah.
Oh, you were at Austin.
We literally did a pod with those guys.
That's right. My bad. I remember.
Someone said renting Miami in your head. Okay. All right. And then I think almost everybody agreed that the best moment was the home playoff win, right?
Yeah.
78.5%
special,
of the
right?
votes.
That was just special. I mean, there was so many good times this season, man.
Yep.
I can't there's so many to think about.
Yeah, but take me back to that home playoff win, right? Because I mean, like, the stakes were so much higher too. Because if we lost, we were out.
Yeah.
So the emotions of forcing a game 3 was just incredible, and everybody was just happy, talking, good mood, right? You could always tell as people as when we do media, and you were there before, Caleb, where when they don't win, nobody wants to talk. When Charlotte FC wins, everybody and their mom, it was great.
You catch them outside the gates, they want to talk.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, that was it's really hard to pick a different moment than that, right?
Right. It's just the first ever home playoff game, right? And
the only thing could have made it better would have been scoring a goal. It's an open play goal. That place, you could feel it. It was just ready to erupt.
Yeah. But I think scoring those penalties and those saves felt like goals.
Yeah.
No, I think particularly for casuals, I think the penalty shootout going straight to that was definitely it's just like instant action, just boom, back to back, right?
Tons of instant action, multiple saves, great penalties taken by Charlotte.
Yeah. I do want to shout out the first game of the season too, right? Was 60,000 fans.
Yeah, it was.
Right. There's a different feeling having that many people and losing, right? I mean, after that second game,
it's the first game of the season too, right?
Yeah. They were calling us Attendance FC.
Well, I think we got a lot of monkeys off our back this season.
Yeah.
Yep. First home wins. A lot of these away games are struggling there.
Yep.
The first playoff win. Dean Smith came in, and we got a lot of these
And we did it without our DPs at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one DP most of the season.
And a long 100%. Clean sheet streak, right? 5 straight clean sheets in there too. Just like a bunch of different, just unique records that they had this year.
Yeah, 100%.
Nice. I love it. I love it. All right, let's go to goal of the season. Some of our nominations for that were Swiderski Tiki Taka Volley.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a good
You
one.
know, Westwood Screamer versus Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember that,
Yeah, I do.
I do.
Ajiman's chip
That
against
was-
Montreal,
Mm.
right?
He cooked who was it? Waterman.
Waterman. Right?
He
Yep.
cooked Waterman on that one.
Yep.
And then the last one was Vargas Slots, Charlotte's fourth goal versus New England. So I mean, that was a decent goal. But I think
That
everybody
Westwood free kick though was on point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's for free kick.
That was
good.
the one against the
In
Fire on the
Chicago?
road, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
We
That one
won
didn't
that
even
with
make
like
the list,
2-1
did
or
it?
something.
no,
He
it
said
didn't.
his goal against Columbus was the one that made it, right?
Yeah, we couldn't put too many Westwood.
Yeah.
babies.
Why- yeah, you
That's
can.
all he
I'm
scores. He
kidding.
always
Yeah, you
scores.
can't. All you scores is
kidding.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Nice. And then the winner was Swiderski versus Chicago Fire. I mean, that was a legit team goal, though.
Yeah.
That was like
Yeah,
your best
I know what
players,
you're talking about, right?
right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
come
yeah.
tiki taka ball.
That was it was
I
a
think
good goal.
BR Football posted it too.
No, it was like viral. I mean, it's probably the
Yeah,
most viewed goal
so-
for the team.
Yeah, and that was kind of the first moment we really started getting exciting
Yeah.
about our front players because we've been poor for 4 or 5 games.
Yeah,
Yep.
And that Chicago game,
Was that when
4-1
Pep
win.
started playing with us too?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Pep was one of
he
the
gave
combo.
2 assists.
Yeah,
Pep was a
yeah.
combo.
2 assists and a goal,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yep.
I mean, obviously you talked about Westwood's goals, right? You know, the Chicago one to me stands out as well.
Yeah.
Just because I don't
it's the
think we didn't,
winner.
and we didn't even play really well.
No,
that
they played
game.
really poorly, and Westwood was able
Well,
to
we
like
really
kind of carry
needed
them
that win
across.
too,
That
right?
bailed us
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
I think the Ajiman goal. I think that's one I voted for personally, just
Ashman goal
because
assist.
I mean it was that post also went viral because Ajiman there's a player in
Yeah.
England. Did y'all see
Yeah.
that? Where we had a whole other. I think it was Plymouth over in England team. A bunch of their fans were hopping on the highlights of this because they have a player who's also Patrick Ajiman. And he's like, Ajiman moving different these days.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not see
Yeah,
that.
yeah, like there was a ton of engagement on the video replay, and it was because I think it was at Plymouth. They had this guy, and people were like, the fans were like, "Oh my goodness, Ajiman, that's not the Pat I know."
Is his name Patrick too?
Yeah,
Really?
Ajiman, yeah.
Man,
That's
what's the chances
hilarious.
of
And
that,
people were
man?
like, "Yeah, Pat's moving different." I don't remember Pat being like that, but not he. I mean, that's such a great move.
Yeah.
Weak foot finish. Oh
The
man, it was
chip
incredible.
over, right? And just,
Mhm.
yeah,
It
great.
was so class.
I feel like that's gonna be a classic, like Patrick Ajiman style goal. Like, I mean, that's just kind of what he's the
Yeah.
1v1 take on and dribble in,
Yeah.
chip ins, kind of becoming a little bit. I mean, he had the
Yeah.
offside chip in.
That would have been a
against
goal.
Orlando.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that was a perfect goal, like you mentioned, like where you just saw an improvement in a player.
Yeah.
Right. You know, maybe season 1,
Yep.
we didn't see that out of him. Right.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
it was his first season. But
Yeah.
like you look at progression, you know,
Yep.
Jess Charman talked about that, about Kalina. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like you saw like an improvement in his game the last year and a half. 'Cause
Yeah,
to be fair, under Latanzio, he improved a bit as well.
He did, yeah.
Right. And so
Ever
know,
since Aaron Hyde came in that same season.
Yeah.
Mm.
Goalkeeper coach for people who don't know. Aaron Hyde, definitely a major contributor to that, and
Yeah.
of course, Kalina always has a willingness to get better. He's just got
yeah.
There's one moment that was at the club, and I don't remember. This was the first ever season we had, and there was one moment. I don't remember the exact context of it, but they asked Kalina something. Somebody on our staff asked Kalina something, and he was like, "Every day I think about football." Like, he is obsessed with
that's
soccer
good.
and getting better. So
I love that. I love that, man. And you
he
saw it
lives
this
and
season.
breathes it.
Yeah.
Man. He lives and breathes
Yeah,
it.
even after we got eliminated in Orlando, you can see the physical disappointment in him.
Yeah.
And you know what? I love that. I love that from our players, right? I mean, that's why he was unanimously the best player of the season because he's locked in.
He's an example too.
Yeah, 100%.
He's an example.
Nice. Pete Rosenberry mentions beating Cincinnati on the road. I mean, you were at that game.
that
How
was
was
good.
that?
Great. It was. I mean,
We
it
weren't
was
expected to win that game.
it's
either.
really,
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
really
Yeah.
exciting game. I mean,
We
multiple
broke
great
Cincinnati.
goals.
That's all we do, man.
Lucho Acosta also scored a great goal. It was just like a lot of great play. Seeing all the Charlotte FC fans like singing like "It Sounds Like a Library" in here,
Yeah.
like, you know, because it got super quiet in the second half, especially because like the energy rose. So you got to see Cincinnati's energy rise with the Lucho goal at the end of the first half, but then you get to see like from them hitting that peak, you know, bring it all the way down after Charlotte FC scored multiple goals in the second half and really took over that game.
That was a great game.
Yeah, maybe the best game still I think I've seen, like one of the more complete games I've seen Charlotte FC play still. I mean, defensively sound, gave up the goal to Lucho, but the Lucho goal was sick. I mean, there's just certain players that you got to tip your hat when they score.
I think
and
in
they
that
just
same,
still, you know,
in that
had a
same
complete
stretch,
game.
we went to Austin. We played Columbus.
Yeah,
as well.
Columbus right after that. It got a draw.
So,
Yeah.
And we
I
had
was
a
like, that
good
was a
run
good-
then,
yeah, it was
right?
a-
That's
a
why I
good
wanted
league
that
run.
other side of the bracket for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Doseki said, by the way, Caleb, Patrick Ajimon scored 21 goals in 4 years at Preston North End from 20.
There it is.
2004 to 2008.
Thank you for the fact check. There you go.
That's hilarious.
That is
Out
so-
there, like, wait.
I can't believe you got
That
us.
man got that double-
They were
I
cracking me
didn't.
up,
He's
man.
He's out
They were
there double
cracking me
dipping,
up.
man. He's getting paid twice.
Nah. All right, let's talk about the worst moment of the season, right? Some of the nominations were Orlando Game 3 for obvious reasons. Losing to Montreal on the road. We had that poor form, right?
Yep.
The 3-0 loss to Minnesota. That was a Sunday game, too, and I remember that one.
Yeah, that was rough.
The team form following league's cup break, right? Someone decided to add refs. That's hilarious. And then someone put facing Miami, which, I mean, I don't think that was that bad. But the winner for that was the playoff elimination. 60% of the votes.
That was not a penalty, man. That was not a penalty. That was such a weak penalty. Sweet call.
We're not talking about that. Anyways,
Well, we're talking about the loss, right?
Worst moment.
I want to give a different. I actually think the worst moment of the season is another Orlando game, and it is when we went away on the road to Orlando.
They lost to
Literally, that loss made the difference
before the
between-
playoffs.
Before playoffs,
Okay.
Yeah.
we went to Orlando, and we said that game was critical for the standings.
Yep.
We lost. Guess
Yeah.
what? If we had won that game, it's completely flipped, and we're
Yeah.
hosting that last game.
Dang, it was a 1-point
It
difference.
was a
Yeah.
1 point difference. That for me
Dang.
was the worst moment of the season because I think it changes the trajectory of everything.
Yeah.
for
Or
us.
even a draw. Even a draw,
Even a
then
draw.
right, you probably
Yeah.
gets the point split.
So,
there, so.
that right there for me was the worst moment of the season because oh man, it took away potential 2 playoff games,
Yeah.
higher seeding. So yeah,
For me, it was that Montreal loss on the road. I mean, obviously, playoffs is going to take the cake because losing and getting eliminated from the playoffs is obviously going to be the worst. But that Montreal loss was just a huge dip. It was like that was the turn that I expected Dean Smith to be able to figure it out during that rough stretch. And losing to Montreal on the road, something about it was just, I mean, just devastating to me. Just seeing like them having a hard time getting out of that rut.
yeah,
So
that was bad.
So Dave said, I think the Minnesota game was pure enragement.
Ooh,
Yeah,
It's
that's
the
a good
only
one,
game
too.
I left early. I couldn't take it.
Yeah.
Nah, that's a good
Yeah,
shout.
'cause
that was
yeah.
terrible.
I remember that one too, because
It was a Sunday.
it was a Sunday,
like
6
1
o'clock.
Was it a 6
No, it was
o'clock
like 4
game?
p.m. It was like
Oh,
a 4
4
p.m.
It was an
game.
early game.
Everything
Yeah.
about that game felt off.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
team was off. The fan base
just
was
the
off.
weekend.
Like I invited a couple people like to that game, and they were like, "Yeah, this was okay." I was like, "Nah, this is not really how
yeah.
things truly go." You know,
Come back next
no
week.
goals. We lose 3-0.
Yeah.
Everything about it was off. It's
Yeah.
a Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So that one sticks out to me.
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
bad one.
that was a bad one.
Yeah.
Lee,
I don't know. I'm trying to think, man. It's God, what a long season, right? It
maybe
was a
losing to
grind.
Atlanta at home.
No, not so much. I mean, Atlanta. I mean, it's never good to lose to Atlanta, but I don't
Man,
think
that
that would
sucked,
be.
yeah, I
I mean,
hated
that's.
that.
But we got them at their spot, so I call that a wash. I don't know. I'm just disappointed in giving up that penalty so late in the game against Orlando.
Benny the Battery says that the Red Bull on the road match gets an honorable mention.
Man, that's just a normal feeling every year. We always lose at Red Bull, man. I just fully expect to lose at Red Bull. Every
Yeah.
time we go.
Yeah, I know.
But
right?
hey,
I hate
Easter
that.
Conference finalist now. All right.
It's looking a
Who
little more
would have thought?
respectable.
Yeah,
Who
it's
would have
like,
thought?
God,
You know.
we should have been in. Never mind. Should have thrown it. We should have thrown it, man.
Why don't we beat DC?
Okay.
Right?
All right. So the next topic we'll touch on is deserved more minutes, right?
Yeah.
Here are some of the responses. Yuri Tavares Scardina, Brandon Cambridge, Nimfasha, Yera Uronen. I don't know why someone put Abada. He was one of the starters. Tiger Smalls.
Interesting.
And the winner for that category was dun 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 Yuri Tavares with 49.5%
The fan base
of
knows
the
ball.
votes.
The
Yeah,
fan
I'd go
base
with that
knows
too. I'd
ball.
go
Why
with
do you
that.
say that, Caleb?
I say that because I think if you give Yudi just as many minutes as Vargas, we see greater production from Yudi. The underlying numbers back that up, and I think he's a player that when he did get the minutes, and they were normally like in the 80th minute. I mean, you saw his effect. I mean, he could change a game. I mean, his 1v1 ability was so dangerous.
Yep.
He's a really great playmaker, and that's something we miss. You know, I saw Matt Doyle's article on what we need for this offseason, and it said that we should be focusing on getting a playmaking winger, which I agree with. Like, Yudi is a playmaking winger. I'm not saying he's the guy, but at least for this season, he definitely had that ability to get more out of Ajiman, who he played with at Legacy.
Yep.
There's a good relationship there. He would have helped someone like Abada as well, because while Abada likes to be more in the box, make the runs, be on the receiving end, Yudi likes to create. He likes to find those pockets and float. So I just think he fit better to the team. And
do you feel that, though, he kind of missed on his opportunity? Right, because, I mean, he scored in Vancouver that second game, and then he kind of had like a dip after that.
Not necessarily. I think he was a victim of a defense first mentality on the team.
Okay.
I think the reason I know the reason Vargas was starting all these games, while he did have some good moments in the season, is because
Defensively,
he's been a defensive beast.
Yeah.
I mean, Vargas has become a liability to now one of the best defensive wingers that we have.
Yeah.
So I think Yudi was more so a victim of that rather than him not really showing out. And I don't think he was that bad on defense either, but I just think Vargas kept getting these minutes because he would track back.
Yeah.
I mean, Vargas had twice as much goal contributions as Yuri Tavares did, but Vargas had 3 times as many minutes and 4 times as many stars. So the goal contributions just weren't there for what Vargas was producing and the amount of minutes he was getting. So I think just right there, you give him just split it 50-50, right? And then just see what happens. But the idea that Vargas got like 2,700 MLS minutes and Tavares only got 9, like didn't even get 1,000 minutes this year based on just like you said, the underlying numbers and some of what he could have produced, the 1v1s, his style of play fit with the team that was like having a hard time creating opportunities. So a guy who can go 1v1 and just give him the ball and see what he can make, do something with it, I think would have been more valuable throughout the course of the season for sure.
Nice. Is there any, obviously Brandon Cambridge came back from an injury, right?
Yeah.
But if you look back at season 2, scored that brace, right? Obviously didn't get real playing time with Latanjo after that, but he came back. Is there any sort of shout for him, right? Given that, it just felt like we haven't really seen Brandon that much.
I think it's a good shout for it, but I do want to just touch one more thing on Yudi. That also why a guy like Yudi should be playing over a Cambridge, getting these minutes over a Vargas. I looked it up, and goals and assists per 90, Karen Vargas was at 0.29. Goals and assists per 90, Yudi was at 0.40.
Yeah.
I mean,
we gotta take into back the minutes too,
Vargas, man.
that's why I did 0.90 per
90.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You gotta take it back to
so good at math.
Well, no.
90
Well, I'm
minutes.
saying that stat would have been lowered if there were more minutes.
I mean, we don't know. That's the thing. But the thing is, when he did get the minutes, he was producing at a higher rate.
Since top bin per 90.
Nice.
I would say the one thing to add about Brandon Cambridge, I think this is why every player, when they have an opportunity, they really got it. It's so important to take it because his injury in preseason is so devastating because there was an opportunity there when there was a lack of wingers, lack of winger depth. And so whenever you have an opportunity as a player to just take it, because Brandon Cambridge kind of lost his opportunity outside of his control.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get that back. So
I think what I love about Cambridge's game, I think he's someone that you definitely need to at least not. I think there's potential there to really be.
I don't think he ever played bad for us when he
Never.
came on.
And on top of that, what I love about Cambridge's game, he's so 2-footed.
Yeah.
Like he's a guy who's so direct, and he can beat you on the left foot and the right foot, and he can score both of them.
Yep.
I love Cam Ridge's profile. I think he's a really exciting profile. Really hope he can get back into things this offseason.
And then we'll touch a little bit more on roster decisions here near the end, but a guy also like Scardina, he's done really well at Crown Legacy, one of the standout players along with Aaron John.
Yep.
I think that's somebody that maybe we didn't see a lot of minutes here because not a lot of people know who he is, but that's somebody that could definitely play a role next season.
I think unfortunately for him, he's either a right back or like a winger type of profile. Burn, he's not dropping Burn. And winger wise, you're going to be running with your Vargas, your Tavares, these guys.
And for me, Scardina, like everything I've seen from him at Legacy, like he really profiles like a right back, and especially in MLS, his willingness to he kind of actually, when I was watching Atlanta play, like he kind of profiled a little bit similar to Brooks Lennon in a way where Lennon can slot in the right wing if he needs to, but like his willingness to
get
right
up mid, and down, basically.
Exactly. But his willingness to get up and down the field, I feel like is what Scardina kind of profiles a little bit like. And for MLS, right back just seems to really be the spot for him. But yeah, like you said, Burn is going to be a tough one to knock off at some point.
And Burn stays healthy, man. Like,
you better knock on wood, man.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the biggest need this offseason.
Hey, can we talk about most improved at some point?
Yeah.
Dang, dog. Biggest need?
Here, dog.
Like Caleb's been thinking about that segment the whole time. He's been making things up this whole time, waiting for it.
Biggest need this offseason. We'll go by quick since Caleb really wants to talk about.
No, we're good.
All right, midfield creator, right?
Yeah.
A winger, center back, striker.
Center back.
This is what people are voting, dude. All right, 65.4% of people voted for. I don't think it's gonna come to shock to anyone for a winger. Right, not winger, my bad.
Got you.
Midfield creator. So 65.4% of those votes, right? I mean, for obvious reasons, right? I mean,
it's gonna be interesting what we do with
that, I mean, right? The summer window, it was like freaking, like, I don't know, like it was so dramatic with, we're getting, Almiron, we're getting Calvin Stangs. And then Pep Biel, a lot of us weren't too convinced. Loan move, cool. He did good, but you could it didn't feel like a true DP, right? And at the end, he didn't deliver like a true DP.
Man, this is my thing with that. This is my thing. Well, I also said myself I was going to judge him on playoff appearance. The reality is this is not nearly enough time to properly judge somebody. And so we really don't have a significant enough amount of time looking at him to really make a good decision about it, regardless of if the stage goes. Because I look at Bouanga. Bouanga was not good at his first half season here. When he first arrived, Bouanga looked like a dud. I saw Bouanga play for LFC when I think he came in the summer, and that first that half a season he played, which is kind of around maybe the same time that Pep had actually, because it really isn't a halfway mark. It's more of a 2/3 mark. Summer window. He came in, had the same amount of time as Pep. I think Pep actually had more contributions than Bouanga did when he first came in. Bouanga then became MVP candidate. I mean, it's just so difficult because a guy like Bouanga, if I was an LAFC fan, I'm looking at this guy who's getting paid more than someone like Pep. I'm like, yeah, get him out of here. This man's not worth it. But imagine what would have happened if you did that, and what would have you left out on? So it's tough, man.
It's like I think Zorn even said it was like a low risk move, but I also, and we talked about this before, but it's also a low reward move. Like there's just so it's hard to find a way to make a gain out of that when you just can't make a valid determination, like you said. So like it was a low risk move. Yeah, you didn't really like set yourself up where you can now not make the permanent transfer. Now you have an open DP spot again, but you didn't learn anything. So there was just nothing really to be gained out of it. So it was kind of like
I think
before you go, are you going to apply that same grace to Giroud?
Yeah, of course.
Like slating him on
yesterday, right?
I was. All I'm saying is he's looked quite all the summer of the transfers. He's been disappointing. I mean, everyone's disappointed.
100%.
But I mean, Giroud's still a class player.
Hey,
I
we
mean,
got a couple
yeah.
hundred grand out of it.
Suarez came in. People thought he was going to be
Yeah.
a flop with his physical profile
Yeah.
and stuff, but look at him.
Half a knee
He
and
is a
scoring
flop.
20 goals.
Giroud, I mean, he does flop a lot,
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
But you know,
But yes, I agree with everything you guys saying, but context matters as well. Like, like Pep was never a guy that was consistently like, at Olympiacos,
neither was Hill.
I don't
Neither
I
was
don't know if
Cucho.
Pep is really
Ne-
like serious about the game though, like outside of the sport.
I don't know. For me, I actually think he's the kind of player where if he's comfortable outside of the field and he's having a good time and he's happy, it reflects on the pitch. I think if he's
Yeah, but that's too emotion based.
it doesn't matter. Keep in mind, Pep is a Spanish player. So we have these stereotypes around players and nationalities. But I'm saying he has played in Denmark, in Copenhagen. He has played at Olympiacos. You don't get away with messing about at these teams at that level. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a player that wasn't playing in Brazil, which may be a little different, right? I think that the professionalism is there. I met the guy. The professionalism is there. He is a true professional. He is on point.
I feel like you got a little
Yeah.
defensive on that comment.
Because like you're speaking, naturally, to someone who hasn't met the guy.
No, it's fair. I have met him.
He's like, he signed my jersey.
Yeah, he did. 100%.
But I don't think the problem is his professionalism.
No, I'm not saying that. I don't know. I just
Is that ability gonna? Is his ability?
I was one
Yeah.
in to defend him anyways, right?
Yeah.
Saying I thought when he came on, I thought he played
Yeah.
pretty well, right? I think
It took him a couple games, but like
you could see the spark he
clearly
brought
it
to
took,
the team,
it took
right?
Federski a couple games to come
But
back.
then
He
and-
when
also
it-
played winger.
yeah,
But then when he
Yeah.
did that stupid shit against Orlando and got the red card,
Yeah.
and then he
Yeah.
stepped up and took a weak penalty.
Yep.
Like
these
like,
are the moments, unfortunately,
Yeah.
that define
Yeah.
you
I
as a
agree.
player.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree.
You knew the risk
I mean,
coming in here.
I get
right?
that it takes balls to take the very first penalty, right?
Yeah.
Regardless, but like I just think it was a weak, soft
Yeah.
penalty. I mean, it was.
It
Yeah,
And
to me, I'm like,
and
okay,
Agumon drilled it the week before. Like
Right,
he
yeah.
drilled the first one the week before,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, do you all agree here also that we need a creative playmaker?
100%.
I do. I think
Yeah.
the
Okay.
problem with Pep, at
I might be
least,
the only one who didn't vote for that. I didn't vote for that.
I just think we run out of options, and Pep was like the only one ready to come to Charlotte.
What do you think is the biggest?
I really want us to get an elite winger. I look at guys like Buanga. Right now, wingers are dominating this league. Buanga, Cucho is sort of a weird striker winger hybrid,
Yeah.
but a really great. He's no attacking playmaker, right? But he brings so much goal wise. And then you look at someone like Gabriel Peck, who is cooking for Galaxy right now.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
this league is being run by wingers right now, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying that a DP10. This league is notorious for being
Yeah, I was
a
gonna say.
DP10 league,
Yeah.
but there's a transition happening because I think teams are getting a little bit more organized, and these guys that are isolated on the wing, like a Peck, are becoming more valuable all of a sudden because that room to operate for 10s and stuff, it's just
Yeah.
not there anymore like it was in the past.
And I think just to add to your point, like it's not Dean Smith's style anyways, right? So I mean, if we're gonna get somebody, it's gonna be more of a box to box 8 that
Right.
is more threatening in the final
And
third.
this is something that I think people aren't taking into consideration is we have a true 10. We put Pep in his system as a 10, as an attacking 8, and we struggled defensively.
Yeah,
Like a lot of Dean's shape sacrificed because of that, and I don't think we're gonna do that again, right? And you said it perfectly. We're gonna get an attacking 8, which is not gonna bring you 15 goals, 15 assists. I think a winger under Dean, like a Peck, would change his team more so than a DP.
so you wouldn't sign James Rodriguez.
100% in a minute. I would sign that. I would sign that man in a heartbeat. Bring that boy here, baby. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, come on.
Well,
James, 100%.
and maybe that's the way to kind of like hybrid the question a little bit. So maybe it doesn't have to necessarily be midfield creator, winger creator, just a creator and more creation.
A
And
wide
stuff.
Yeah.
playmaker is what we need.
It
That's
could
what I
be,
want.
yeah,
A wide
yeah.
playmaker.
Okay. Any shout for? I mean, a lot of people voted for striker too, right? So I think that's more of a dig at Swiderski than it is
And Pat.
Patch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
And
think
Pat.
Yeah, but you
Well, I
give
think
Pat,
Pat got
some
the
grace.
short end of the stick
Yeah.
when Swiderski came back.
Well, and think about how, I mean, and we have I don't know if we have the graphs that I sent you guys. But I mean, look at how few creative So there's a chart from Sebastian Bush who does shout out to him at MLS Stat.
Former
live
NASCAR driver.
Yeah. So Charlotte FC in the Eastern Conference, live ball goal creating actions, second, tied for the worst in the Eastern Conference, right? Yes. So they just weren't creating anything from open play. They also were near the bottom of the table in expected assists, right? Just no creative actions. There's no creativity at all. And that's what Pat had to deal with the whole season, really. And if you actually look at another stat where it's take on goal creating actions, Charlotte FC is in the top 5 in the Eastern Conference, and that's all at Ajiman. That's what he did. So Ajiman literally created that stat for Charlotte. So the fact that you have one end of the spectrum being just no creativity, no just in play action and goal creating happening, and then you have the other end where players are taking players on and making all the goals happen. Shows the issue that the fight that Patrick had to work through in the early portion of the season before a little bit more creativity did happen down the stretch. Mm-hmm. So I think that needs to kind of, whether it's from a winger, whether it's from a midfielder, just upping that amount of just live ball, goal creative actions, throughout the course of the season is really where just increasing the volume, right? And that's what that does. That's what that does, creating the volume, whether it's from the midfield, whether it's from the wing. Mm-hmm. And I think that helps Patrick Ajiman, get to that next level, or Karol Swiderski, or whoever ends up being, in that spot.
Is that you can have the best 9 in the world.
If you don't get the ball,
have no service, there's no other position that's more dependent on the 10 players behind them than the striker. That is the most dependent position on the players behind you.
Cucho's a good example of that, right? Playing for Watford, relegation team, and then coming to Columbus where he can thrive and shine. And and get the ball.
Well, I mean, Ricky Puig. Over at, everyone,
Yeah.
every one of the attackers benefits from having Ricky Puig on the team.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I mean, right?
Marco Royce hasn't been bad.
Yeah, Marco Royce is. I'll take Marco Royce.
All right, we added a couple extra things because this is Caleb's show. Disappointment of the season. All right, I'll start it off with.
Oh gosh, I gotta start this out.
He was so adamant.
This is the one I was least excited about. Disappointment of the season. Oh man, that's tough. I'm not gonna lie, that's tough. On Enzo Copetti, to be honest.
Yeah.
I really like Copetti's profile for this league. A real bulldozer of a striker. In theory, has good positioning, and we talk about playmaking. I think Copetti is particularly a victim of not having that playmaking. Right.
Fair.
What Enzo's campaign here looked much different if we had a Ricky Puig behind him.
What's he doing at Rosario?
Rosario.
He should have taken that penalty kick first that he gave to Vargas.
What I'm saying is,
that was it. That was it.
When he was in Argentina prior, he had some playmakers around him, and it was very clear the service he was getting. It's completely different. Regardless, Copetti was probably my biggest disappointment because I understand that MLS takes a while to get used to. There is an adjustment period, and on top of that, we were not a great side last year. Dean comes in. Dean likes these sort of physical profile strikers. He historically, so I was really excited. I'm like, Dean's gonna get the most out of this. This is perfect for Enzo.
I'll go next.
And he.
This
is the part you're most excited about.
No. To me, it was Brett De Jager at the beginning of the season. I was like, yo. He's gonna ball out player of the season.
And he started pretty good. He
did decent, and then you saw the decline, right? And league cursed Enzo. I think I cursed.
We need to play that clip. That was the disappointment of the season. Those are the player of the year.
We're not gonna
do
that.
Both of the
player of the year.
Brett De Jager and Enzo Copetti in our first episode.
There's something's gonna be different about Brett.
That's crazy.
Exposed.
Yes, sir.
We're not going to do that sort of question at the beginning.
We're definitely doing it.
But it was impromptu. Caleb is the one who decided this segment. He wasn't there.
I wanted to expose all these guys.
League? Anybody that sticks out to you?
Are we talking about players or just disappointment throughout the season?
Whatever. Disappointment of the season.
Yeah, my biggest disappointment is when Joe LeBlue said that he was going to come out there and do a fan interview. And he never showed up, Joe.
What about player?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Enzo for sure, right? That one stands out. Brett. obviously. I don't know. I don't like. It was just a long season, man. It just seems like this was a very long season.
I'd say U22 initiatives. I think that's like a spectrum for what fell short for me. I think when you look at a lot of the teams in MLS, the U22 initiative has helped take teams to the next level. Orlando City is a great example of that. Araujo, right? Enrique starting up top, right? They have U22 initiatives that are kind of adding that extra layer of depth for them. Charlotte FC's U22s haven't really done that. I mean, I think Vargas kind of we're talking about needing another attacking creative winger, right? Vargas could have filled that role, but he hasn't quite yet. And then Petkovic. You're talking about attacking 8, 10, all these things. $3 million signing, right? These are the kind of the spots where he could have stepped up and really taken over that role. And so I think those two, the U22 initiatives for Charlotte overall, disappointed. Vargas had got the minutes, but really didn't show out. We're talking about Tavares being to replace him.
Petkovic had that moment where he scored that amazing goal, right? Where you're like, okay, maybe there's something there that all of us were missing.
This is a top 5 transfer fee in the league, in the team history. Yeah, was him, and it's just. It's
a good point. It's a very good point. The U22 is
Petkovic for sure. And like, it's tough. It's tough. It hasn't really panned out the way it has. You know, we'll see how Tokomati goes now, right?
Yeah. I was just about to say that, right?
Yeah,
he's on a lot of money. So Enzo, Breck, U22s, Joe LeBou. We'll clip that. It's a joke. What was the other thing that you mentioned that you wanted to add?
Oh, most improved player.
We kind of had that
with what?
Yeah, we've already discussed that.
Yeah, kind of.
Where were we at? Where were you
most
at,
minutes,
man?
right?
Yeah, you just sat there and talked the whole time.
Most deserving of more
most
minutes.
deserving of minutes. What does that have anything to do with most improved?
That's not. I would say
Caleb
agree with
get
Caleb on this one.
All right,
I'm about to leave the show, man.
Caleb,
I'm about to go home.
Yeah.
You don't even give me my 2 segments.
Nah, I'm going last.
This is Caleb's corner.
Someone said, hold on. Someone said Bender leaving the team.
Yeah, Bender was pretty. Yeah,
Harold, even with his personality and performance change, it still left expectation. I don't know. I feel like he kind of made up for it at the end of the and he scored the goal in Orlando game.
Carroll has some of the best numbers of any striker at the end of the season.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was like, I don't know about
league
that
wide.
One. Yeah, and he scored in Orlando game 3.
If anything, I thought he exceeded expectations. So
I think he was right where I thought. Like when we had this conversation, I was like, he's gonna come back, bang 7 or 8 goals for us
against bad teams. I think there's that caveat is in there. Like I was concerned about how he would show up against good teams because he showed out against all like the Chicago Fires, but like Charlotte
Chicago Fire is just Swiderski FC, bro. He owns them.
Well, it makes sense, right? I mean, they're like 25th in the league usually, like somewhere like drop down. So I was a little bit concerned with how he showed up in the Orlando series as a whole. You kind of want your striker, your DP striker, to be able to like not be game script dependent, and he showed to be a little bit game script dependent. Like,
that man scored what should have been a winner and what should have got us through the next round.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like he started in the first game.
Yeah.
Was game script dependent. Like, so, and that's why he didn't start in the second or the third game.
Yeah, but Ajiman didn't.
But
at the end of the day,
that's
he's the
not
only
the
guy
point.
who scored a goal.
The point is that your DP can't be game script dependent. Your DP has to be the guy you need to start every single game and show up regardless of how the game is played, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what every other team DPs
100%.
do.
So was this the question of the most improved?
Yes.
Well, I brought it back.
Wait, who should be the striker or who's most improved?
Yeah.
Now we're gonna. I was reading
confused
some
on what I'm
comments,
supposed to be
but
answering
let's
here,
go
man.
for most improved now.
You got
right?
carried away with the Bender
Yeah,
thing.
Go ahead, Lee.
Well, the easy one I think would be Kalina, right?
yes.
That's
Good
what
shot.
people say.
Right,
Yep.
because last season he wasn't. We all saw the progression of Kalina, right? So that's a give me.
But I thought Kalina actually improved quite a bit, particularly the last third of last season when he started coming out more.
Yeah, he did for sure. But like this
stepped.
season, definitely. I mean, again, I've said it all season. I've eaten crow, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
I think he really improved. Now, if we're talking about outfield players, I mean, Byrne deserves a shout, right? I think Privet definitely deserves a shout. Bronico might even, right? I mean, he's the guy that goes in there and does the dirty work. Nobody ever talks about it. He's had 3 or 4 managers now for Charlotte, and they all start him. And, then you start seeing him push up. He was linking up with Abada for a little bit.
Yeah.
If he could just finish,
Yeah.
it could be.
I mean, Patrick Ajiman. I think is here we go again. There we go.
Even Cisco's not
Here we
surprised.
go. Here we go again.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty. I mean, he had like 300 minutes year before. He's a super draft pick, like last season, 2023. Goes from that to double-digit goal
100%,
contributions. Being talked about again. There's maybe 3 or 4 players that Charlotte FC like are getting talked like regular conversations about from the MLS pundits, and it's like Ajiman, Malanda, and Kalina are like kind of those 3, right?
But I'm
And I
not a
think-
Pat hater by any means.
Yeah,
I think he's a great
yeah.
player, but I think the circumstances
You
around.
starting it off like that? Make
Well,
yourself
because I
look
just
bad.
want. I
I'm
know.
kidding.
Pat's just terrible, man.
Yeah.
No, but like the circumstances around the team at the beginning of the season, right? We didn't have Swiderski. Enzo was flopping,
Yeah.
right? And it was like, but he
Yeah.
took that chance, and he
Yeah.
was just happened to be better than Enzo, right? And so
So how's that not
I
in most improved?
No, yeah. I agree with you. I think it's Patrick
Yeah.
Ajiman for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
right.
10 double-digit
Yeah,
goals this season.
I'm not knocking
right?
the guy by any means.
And we talk about what the lack of creation and like this
Yeah.
guy created his own opportunities to score.
Yeah.
We've
Beat a
seen him
DP
prove-
off of a job.
Yep, beat a DP and a second one.
Yeah.
right.
He's, like,
during some
fighting.
games,
Yeah,
right?
that's fair.
So
I mean,
and
but
then
not like a DP's been
also
hit.
the goal against Montreal, right? That's an
Yeah.
improvement on his skill set, right?
Yeah.
His ability to finish in that final third. So yeah, to me, I give it to Patrick
That's Pat.
Ajiman as well.
It's Pat 100%. Pat really took some great steps, and I think the biggest thing for me that I want to see was we knew he had the physical ability, we knew he had the technical ability to beat people and stuff like that, but it was the decision making part of it.
Mhm.
And I felt that his decision making it take a very clear step up on when to know when to make runs, when to give it off, when to lay it off. Because sometimes when you're in college,
Yeah.
you're playing a lot of hero ball in college. He's faster, stronger than everyone else in college. He can just take it all. He can just take it home all the way. You can't do that in MLS.
What about the goal he missed against New England?
Even
That was
his
bad.
finishing. I thought
No,
that
but he-
even from the
that's
start of
just
the season
fucking
to the end, his finishing has improved. His
Yeah.
composure.
Well, even look at the game against DC, he let the ball go, right? Like
Yes,
awareness,
exactly.
of
Stuff
space,
like that.
right? These are like small things that you see, and it's only his second year in MLS.
And that's really
Right.
why that was my argument the whole time about just wanting him to get more minutes because the game is slowing down for him. Think about it. He's playing 3 months a year in college. Yeah, he came from Rhode Island straight to MLS,
Mhm.
right? So like the difference in speed between a 3-month season in college and a 9-month season in MLS is lightning. I mean, it's like light speed versus like a train, right?
Yeah.
It's just like just so different. And so for him to get to where he's gotten, I think it's just the game is slowing
Yeah.
down for him.
Big
And-
Pat fans over here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and see, I want to highlight like
Oh, here we
it's
go.
just not me here. It's just not me here, right? It was pretty close to unanimous, and then we got Lee over here.
No.
It was like
All I'm doing is trying to. We talked about Pat.
He said, "I'm not a Pat hater, but
Yeah.
No, we talked about
But-
Pat. I feel like we talked about Pat for 45 minutes tonight. And Brian has an article coming out dropping in the morning about Pat.
I actually just met with our content writers, and that's actually all we're writing about for the next couple of years. We've like really got
what
a whole
does Pat eat
strategy
Mondays?
plan.
Click here."
Pat Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays.
Awesome. Any other topics before I move on to my?
Let me think about it.
Go ahead.
Nah, we're good.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about some roster decisions.
Yeah.
Right. Charlotte announced their roster decisions last Thursday. So it exercised options for Patrick Ajiman, obvious reasons, Ben Bender, Brandon Cambridge, Hamadi Diop, Jolene Forbes, George Marks, that was a surprise to me,
Yep.
Andrew Privet, Nicholas Scardina, and Tiger Smalls. The options for 3 players were declined: Junior Urso, Jamie Patterson, which was the most obvious, right? He came and chilled.
You know,
Right.
You got a little
Sure
quick
did.
$500,000.
I had this conversation with you guys when he signed, by the way.
Yeah.
Allegedly. I was
Allegedly.
I don't know what to talk about.
Jalen Lindsay, which hometown kind of
Yeah,
hero,
that one sucks just
Right.
for him and his family being from Charlotte.
and also the club did not take up the purchase option for Pep Biel. And let's start there, right? Obviously, like we talked about, Pep Biel we really need to see Pep Biel in the playoffs, what he can do. He disappointed, right? The penalty, the red card,
the
right?
red card did it
So
for me.
maybe Caleb, walk me through maybe Zoran and these guys thinking to say, you know what? Let me decline this option for this player, right? Because maybe we can negotiate a TAM deal.
Yeah, so I was talking to Zoran just about this yesterday. No, I'm playing. I'm playing.
Hey, Zoran,
Joke.
Clip that.
That's a
pop it on
joke.
this show.
That's a joke. No, I think this again. Brian said it was a low risk move, right? And regardless, you have now all the way up until April is when the winter transfer window in MLS goes all the way up until April. So you have a ton of time to go and acquire another 10 or any position you may be looking for. So Pep, according to reports, is also maybe being considered to bring back on loan if they can get him on a non-DP deal.
Yeah.
If that's the case, that's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
But the whole reason to decline his option is to go back to the drawing board. Basically, it's who's available, because they also could be working on other people in this behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
Like during this.
Hope so.
I mean, they always.
Yeah. I mean,
it took about 18 months. Right?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a great example. Is there may be deals that we don't know about, unaware about, conversations happening that Pep leaving could open up. So it's a smart move. Reassess, like see where we're going, let's see what's on the market, let's see who we've talked to in the past. Let's see if that's even a position we want to like prioritize. Maybe we go for that big signing on a winger, right? Mm-hmm. But I think it is very interesting if you can bring Pep back on a non-DP deal.
Yeah, I think if they do that, it's a brilliant move.
I think for me personally, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
If you can bring him on a
100%.
non-DP deal, I think that might be the signing of the season.
Plus, you also have the added bonus that he's played here. He likes Charlotte.
He loves Charlotte.
Right?
I talked to
Hey,
hey,
that's
that's
what I was saying. I got cut off when I tried to bring that up. You go ahead, man. You know him.
I gotta defend. I gotta defend my short kings. Short kings.
I don't know where he's going with that. Anything else that you guys would like to add, just specifically on Pep?
No, I mean, I think we've said all that needs to be said about it, right? If we can get him back as a non-DP sort of loan or whatever, and then hopefully they are shopping around, right? I mean, to me, the winter transfer is the hardest window to do anything, just because teams in Europe and the rest of the world, right, are pushing for championships, get promotion, relegation, right? They're not going to try to give up some of the better players. So it'll be interesting to see who's on the sort of shopping list for D.
All right.
I do want to add real quick. Think about this scenario. You just said made a great point. The winter season, most of your best players aren't available in the winter season.
Yeah.
This reason, like moves like Giroud and Bouanga happen in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And imagine this. Imagine Pep does come on loan for another 6 months. Imagine we hold off on the 10 because there's no one really at that top level. Keep them until the summer and see if there's any really big splashes we can make. And I think that's a really ideal scenario. And
I feel like they sell me every window differently. Like, the summer, that's
who's
what
they? I'm just saying. I don't work for
Zoran yesterday.
I don't work
Zoran yesterday.
I said that 10 minutes ago.
Zoran's my boy.
The truth always comes out, man.
But point is, I'm saying that's an
for
approach.
sure.
That's an approach if nothing opens up.
I get you. All right, let's move on. Before that, quick shout out to Carol Walton. She said Wade, Johnny, and Wes Walton say hi. They're watching when they should be going to bed. So shout out to them.
Yes,
right, Carol. She does some great stuff.
Love
Check
Carol
out her Football
stuff,
Fridays.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk a little bit about, before we get to the decline options, the exercised, the ones where they got signed on again. Obviously, the Patrick Agimans make sense, right? But talk to me maybe through the process of signing George Marks for another season, right? Because I mean, I love George Marks, super professional, right?
Yep.
But we got Nick Holiday, you've got Kalina, you have Bingham, you have Chituru, right? You have Isaac Walker.
Just got signed to another Crown Legacy
deal.
deal.
So you have 5 or 6 goalkeepers.
Yep.
So maybe walk me through why they would do that.
Yeah, I was surprised that Mark's got his option signed as well. It's kind of strange because right now Crown Legacy's roster decisions came out and they said Nick Holiday was part of the team there, and then Charlotte announced their roster decisions, and Holiday wasn't involved. But then when he was initially signed, his deal, like when Charlotte FC's report, they said that Holiday had a 20-25-year guarantee to be on the first team deal. So I'm waiting for those numbers to kind of come out and then to reassess that. But I mean, we'll see. But I was definitely kind of surprised that Marks was he's the 6th now goalkeeper signed between the first and the second team. That just seems like a lot of goalkeepers to have on a roster. So.
I'd say.
Yeah.
You never know, man. People can get hurt, right?
Talk to Columbus Crew, right? Columbus Crew had Zawadzki in goal. Their center back.
Is Bingham a 1-year deal? Isn't Bingham a 1-year deal?
No, he's still got a contract to 2025.
Okay.
No option, though, I don't think.
That's interesting. The only reason I can think of keeping Marks is they think he has some sort of MLS trade value.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I can think of. Because Marks does have MLS minutes.
Yeah.
He's a good keeper.
He's a good keeper.
Yeah.
That's where I was.
And he's American.
Yeah. I would say I would put that also amongst the lines of why you would keep a Ben Bender, right?
Yeah.
Because
100%.
of the trade value. At this point, Dean's already gotten a look at him. If he decided to let him go to Tampa, right, then it's going to be very hard for him to get back into this team.
Yeah.
Right? Anyone else from that list that surprises you? I mean, Brandon Cambridge makes sense to me. Jolene, Andrew Privet, Scardina, Tiger Smalls, right?
That all makes sense, right?
Yep. Let's talk about those decline options, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, Jamie Patterson, bro,
that one broke my back.
Here.
That broke my heart. Ball for us.
Let's start first with Jalen Lindsey. Lee, I mean, obviously, came back from Charlotte, right? The storyline was there, right? And kind of seeing him, right, he was going
unlucky
toe-to-toe
for him. There was always that player that was just that touch bit better in front of him, right? I mean, Byrne. I mean, I feel bad for Jalen because I know he wanted to play here in Charlotte, right? He seemed like a good guy, but I mean, he's still got a career, I think, in the MLS, right?
Well, I feel bad because I think Jalen can be a starter in this league.
He could be.
He can be. He just unfortunate. Byrne came in, played at a top level. But I think it's a win-win. Even though it's sad to see Jalen go, he needs to be playing. I want to see him playing. I want to see him getting those minutes. He's still young. He's still a good player. He still has a lot of potential in this league. So I'm happy that he's going to have the opportunity to showcase some more of that, hopefully.
Yeah, he needs the minutes. And I think it also didn't help that you have now 2 right backs with on the senior roster, right? Where Scardina being on the supplemental roster, you can, as a team, cut Lindsey and have Scardina as just to take away some of that salary cap.
Right.
So
yeah, that's a great point.
I think that Scardina's success at Crown Legacy kind of spelled the end for Lindsey a little bit there as well. It's just the backup, but he needs the minutes, like you said. Minutes for him has got to be first and foremost. He's 24, 25 now, about to hit his prime. If he doesn't get minutes now, I mean, they're not coming.
Is he not 23?
Who? Scardina?
No,
Lindsey.
Jalen.
He might be 24. In that range.
He might be, yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you, right?
Oh, what?
Yeah, all of you. If you have a guy like Nathan Byrne and a guy that's on less money in Scardina, right? It just makes sense. Hopefully he ends up at another MLS team, right? It's the storyline is what really kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's
right?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
right?
no,
You would have loved to see Bronico part 2 or something, right?
It's the opposite of what happened to Brant. First season, we're this can be a good depth player.
Yeah.
Now, we've got Airbnbs. He's got everything around here. So I love that for Brant.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah.
Any thoughts on Junior Urso? Right. I mean, was kind of going to be maybe a slightly better version of Brant Bronico.
I think Junior Urso was always going to be a one and done.
Yeah, I feel
he
that.
came in during preseason. We needed some depth
trial,
in midfield. On trial, he was a trialist for a bit.
Field gap, right?
He's getting older. He's a great guy, super nice guy, great for the locker room. But I think the team wants to keep upgrading, keep staying younger, and because we're pretty old, right? I mean, we're getting younger, but a lot of that midfield core is still quite old.
Yeah,
on the older side.
Nice, awesome. Let's talk a little bit about. Lastly, let's talk about the playoffs. Obviously, we're not in it anymore, right? But on the West, you got a very strong matchup in Seattle Sounders versus LA Galaxy.
Seattle might pop in there and
Well,
surprise some
yeah,
people, man.
yeah,
That was good.
yeah. I think they're kind of going under the radar, just seeing how good LA Galaxy have been.
What?
But then again, like, who has LA Galaxy really played that has really given them a run for their money in this playoff run? Nobody,
that's fair,
right?
yeah.
You know. But still, having said all of that, I mean, they've got the best squad, in my opinion, in the playoffs, right? So we have that, and then on the East, we have Orlando. Could have been us, you know,
It should have been
taking
us.
on, surprisingly,
Red-
New York Red Bulls.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, two teams that we've lost in playoffs are in the Eastern Conference Finals. So
Yeah, I like the Galaxy matchup because for me it's like the immovable object goes against the
unstoppable force.
unstoppable force because Galaxy has just this lightning attack. I think they scored 4 goals in all their playoff games. I mean, 15 goals in 3
Scored
matches.
what,
Everybody
like
have
the
a
last
brace
2
last
minutes
game?
or
Which
something.
is crazy.
against Minnesota?
Seattle have the best defense in the league.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a really interesting game. I love that matchup. And it's also, for me, I love seeing an MLS original Galaxy. The league is a better place when the original MLS teams are top notch. If Galaxy is on top, this is still the most recognizable team in the United States. This is still the most successful team in history. And then the Sounders were sort of that metric for years.
Yeah.
They were that metric for years. So it's good to see Seattle and Galaxy kind of revived because the West was kind of drab really for a while there. But the West is really fun now.
I would rather Orlando just win it all the way out. That way we can say we lost to the champions.
That's fair.
I will say, like, it shows for the Rebels specifically how much they missed Forsberg down the stretch. He comes back and they look like a completely different team. Like, they don't look like
He
a
cooked
7 seed
us.
at all.
Yeah.
And so I'd say, like, that's one thing to keep in mind in the next year. And this is why, like, hitting your winter signings, regardless of whether or not it's a big name signing or not, like, you got to improve this team because New York improved by just getting Forsberg back, and they look like a completely different team. And I think they easily could be saying they're going into this year a top 4 in the East, just because of just how they're lined up, how they're set up.
And talking about, like, you know, teams that represent MLS, I mean, the Red Bulls have been in the league forever, right? Metro Stars, right? So I mean,
they haven't
it's
won
cool
a cup
to see.
yet.
Yeah,
they could very well. I mean, Red Bull have a really good shot making the final.
Orlando has neither.
I would say they have a 25% chance.
But they haven't been in the league for 25.
No, I'm not saying that.
years.
I was just wondering if they had won the cup or not. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of great storylines right now. Yeah, this is great. It's been really fun.
Yeah, Lee, anything you want to add to that? Big Red Bull fan over there.
I didn't want to play them to begin with, right? When we were trying to figure out.
We should have lost to DC. No.
Yeah. But no, I mean, to the point though, I mean, everybody was like touting that Miami's going to run with this, right? Do all this, and then Atlanta, right, ranked 9th.
So worse.
They only had one. They were like, our only job is to take out Miami.
Yeah,
and
they did it, right? So
that's a success.
Yeah. So
I think the top teams going into the playoffs in the East were a disappointment.
They were.
Right. Obviously, Miami, Columbus, and Cincinnati. They were miles away from everybody else regular season. Right. You started seeing that dip. You started seeing that dip near the end. And that's what you talked about. Like, you know, going into form is important.
It's so important.
Right.
But I want to add too, like, I think it also just is a testament of how much quality is in the East. Like this, even Atlanta, who are 9th place, you know, it wasn't just a fluke. They went toe to toe for 3 games.
Yep.
Like this really about some people say it really favors and bails teams out.
Really
it also really favors teams like Miami that they should be winning a best out of 3 series. Period.
Yeah. I don't know why Jordi Alba would criticize that.
Period. Like it doesn't. Like there's no excuse for the 1 seed losing that 9th seed. Yeah. But again, the quality of the East. I mean, top to bottom.
And goes back to like summer signings being key, right? I mean, Atlanta United hit on their summer signings, right? Maranchuk helped out with a few assists, but then Pedro Amador, man. I mean, that dude is unconscious. Really he had like 5-6 straight games with an assist from a left back role. For shout out, shameless plug, MLS Fantasy dropping points. Amador, I think, is absolutely going to be on a radar there because, I mean, dude, that guy for left back had like 8 assists in 10 games.
They got Lennon and him, like 2 of the best crossers in the league now. Yeah, it's scary.
Yep.
Nice. Well, we'll see who wins. It's not going to be Charlotte, unfortunately. With that said,
Seattle, Orlando.
thank you guys for another great episode. Caleb, where can people find you at?
Yeah, you can just find me at It's Caleb Adams on Twitter.
Awesome. Lee?
COT FC Fan TV on all the socials.
Mr. Brian?
You can find me on Twitter at Bam Mauer Media. You can find all my written content at top90.com.
Nice. You know where to find us. It's the off season, but we're still cooking up some fun content. So we'll see you guys soon. Get